In the vast reaches of the galaxy, stars and planets were not merely lights in the sky. They were markers, destinations, and the history of civilizations. Every major species had its maps, vast, intricate webs of explored worlds, wormholes, and trade routes. Yet, despite all the mapping and charting, a strange and unsettling truth persisted. Every galactic map stopped at a certain edge. Beyond that line lay human territory, and none of the great civilizations dared to cross it. Vela, a young astronomer from the Aelari Collective, stared at the latest projection of the galaxy. Her 3 eyes scanned the stars, following the patterns of black holes, nebulae, and energy currents. And yet, as always, the projection ended abruptly, at a jagged, undefined border. Beyond it, there was nothing, no chart, no record, only an unbroken void. "This cannot be," Vela whispered to herself, her voice trembling. Even though the room was filled with her colleagues, none of them looked particularly concerned. For them, the map's ending at human space was nothing new. It had always been that way. "Vela, you are staring too hard at a line on a map," said her mentor, Professor Thalric. He was an older Aelari with eyes that glimmered like the gas clouds they studied. "No one has ever crossed that border. There is no reason to question it. It is safer to follow the tradition." Vela shook her head. "Tradition does not explain anything, Thalric. Why does it stop there? Why do humans seem different? The scanners always fail. The probes disappear. And no one returns with clear data. It is not like anything else in the galaxy." The professor sighed. "Vela, curiosity is commendable, but wisdom is knowing when to stop. The humans, they are not like us. They are unpredictable. That is all you need to know." But Vela could not let it go. The edge called to her like a whisper carried on the cosmic winds. Every night, she studied old records and faint signals. Stories of alien travelers who tried to enter human territory were rare and always vague. But one thing was consistent. They returned, changed, cautious, awed. Some even refused to speak of what they had seen. "I need to see for myself," she said finally, a spark of determination in her eyes. The next week, she assembled a small team of like-minded researchers. They were careful, selecting only those who shared her curiosity and were willing to bypass warnings from their superiors. They would travel in secrecy, using a modified research vessel designed to avoid detection by both sensors and patrols. The ship, Lumina, was a sleek, silver vessel that hummed with quiet energy. It carried no weapons, only sensors, research equipment, and enough supplies for several months. Vela led the team aboard, her heart racing with excitement and fear. "Once we pass the border," she told her team, "we are entering unknown space. We don't know what to expect, but I promise you this, we will learn things no one else has." The journey was long. Stars and systems rushed past the ship's windows, alien worlds spinning silently in the void. The further they went, the more the maps of the galaxy became meaningless. Their charts could no longer predict cosmic currents or gravitational fields. Space itself seemed to change, as if acknowledging that they were approaching a place that did not belong on any map. One night, as the Lumina sailed through a dense nebula, the sensors detected an unusual energy field. It was unlike anything the team had encountered, pulsing, irregular, and vast. "This must be it," Vela whispered. "The edge of human territory." The energy field was mesmerizing. Streams of light twisted through the void, and the ship's instruments went haywire. Time seemed to stretch and compress in strange ways. The team could barely record data. Their instruments were overwhelmed. "It's beautiful," said one of the researchers, a tall Aelari named Chiron. "But why would humans exist beyond something like this? What could survive here?" Vela smiled. "Humans survive everywhere. That is why they are different. Their worlds are not just about technology. They adapt, they learn, they create solutions no one else thinks of. Perhaps this energy field is just another challenge for them." As the Lumina approached closer, they detected faint signs of life. Not signals, exactly, more like patterns of order. Cities and structures seemed to exist within the energy field, yet no probe could scan them. Humans were present, but somehow invisible to technology. "Impossible," muttered Chiron. "It's like they shield themselves without shields. How is that possible?" Vela did not answer. She felt it, more than understood it. Humans were not hiding. They simply existed on a level that alien technology could not measure. Their presence could not be catalogued or controlled. They were free. The ship slowed, allowing the team to observe without approaching too closely. On the nearest human planet, sprawling cities blended seamlessly with natural landscapes. Towering structures grew organically from the terrain, not imposed upon it. Light reflected off smooth surfaces and water alike, creating patterns of beauty and balance. "They don't destroy," Vela said quietly. "They improve. They coexist. Even the smallest details. Gardens, roads, waterways. All of it works together. No other civilization does this." The team watched in awe as humans moved through their world. They did not seem to notice the ship, or perhaps they chose not to. Their lives were ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. Children laughed in open fields, adults worked with advanced machines that seemed almost alive, and communities thrived without any sign of aggression. Vela realized something profound. These humans, unlike any other species, had found a way to flourish without fear. They did not dominate. They did not conquer. They created, adapted, and shared knowledge. And that made them unpredictable. "The legends were true," she murmured. "Humans are the wild card. That is why no one maps this territory. Not because they are dangerous, but because they cannot be predicted or controlled." Chiron looked uneasy. "So, what do we do? Go back and tell our people? They will never believe us. Or, do we stay?" Vela considered. "We observe. We learn. And maybe we take a little of their way of thinking with us. That is all we can do without interfering." The team spent weeks on the edge of human territory, documenting everything they could without being noticed. Every observation confirmed what Vela had felt. Humans were extraordinary not because of force or power, but because of ingenuity, adaptability, and empathy. Their worlds were thriving mosaics of creativity, filled with innovation that no alien civilization could fully comprehend. One evening, as the twin suns of the human planet set, Vela stood on the deck of the Lumina, staring out at the vibrant cities below. The humans were unaware of the alien eyes upon them, yet their presence filled the heart with hope. Here was life, resilient and brilliant, thriving without fear, without cruelty, without conflict. "This is why the map ends," she said softly. "It's not a border. It's a reminder. Humanity is something we cannot contain, something the galaxy must respect." As the Lumina prepared to return home, Vela felt a mix of awe and responsibility. She had glimpsed the future of life, not through conquest or war, but through ingenuity and spirit. Humans had survived and thrived in ways no one else could. And now, she carried that knowledge back to her people. Perhaps the galaxy would never fully understand humanity. Perhaps they would continue to fear the unknown. But Vela knew the truth. Humans were the edge of possibility, the uncharted frontier of life itself. And for anyone brave enough to learn, they offered lessons that could change the entire galaxy. And so, with the stars stretching endlessly ahead, the Lumina began its journey back, carrying a secret that no map could show. Humanity was not a threat. Humanity was a promise. The Lumina glided silently through the invisible boundary that marked the beginning of human territory. Vela and her team had spent weeks observing from a distance, learning as much as they could without disturbing the humans. But now, closer than ever, they began to see things that defied every expectation. Humans moved with a natural confidence that even the most advanced alien sensors could not quantify. Their cities, though bustling with activity, were in perfect balance with the environment. Trees and gardens grew alongside technology that pulsed and shifted as if alive. Energy flowed through buildings without wires or visible machines, and yet everything worked with perfect harmony. Vela could hardly contain her excitement. "It's incredible," she whispered to Chiron. "Every piece of this world is connected. It's as if humans think in patterns we cannot even imagine." Chiron adjusted the sensors. "I've never seen anything like it. These readings, they don't make sense. Energy levels, population density, infrastructure efficiency, everything is too perfect." "It's not perfection," Vela said. "It's understanding. They do not dominate. They collaborate with nature, with each other, even with technology. That is their secret." The Lumina drifted closer to a major human city. From orbit, they could see humans moving through open spaces without fear, creating, learning, and exploring. Children played in gardens that seemed to grow according to their laughter, and adults worked with machines that adapted to their needs rather than forcing them to adapt. One of the researchers, a scientist named Ryla, turned to Vela. "I don't understand. How can they maintain this level of organization without control? No one else in the galaxy does this. Even the most advanced civilizations rely on strict hierarchies or military oversight." Vela shook her head. "Humans are different. They trust themselves and each other. They solve problems because they want to, not because they are forced. That makes them unpredictable." For days, the team observed. They studied human communication, their methods of teaching and learning, the way they organized communities, and the way they interacted with nature. Every observation revealed something new. Humans had mastered renewable energy in ways that made alien reactors look primitive. They cultivated ecosystems that balanced natural growth with human needs, and their problem-solving methods were inventive and adaptive beyond any algorithm. But it wasn't just technology or organization that amazed the aliens. It was the way humans thought. They approached challenges with creativity and curiosity, often finding solutions that no one else in the galaxy could imagine. When the team attempted to predict human actions, they failed repeatedly. Humans were not bound by rules, logic, or patterns that any alien mind could comprehend. Vela realized the truth more clearly with each passing day. "They are the wildcard species," she said. "Not because they are dangerous, but because they cannot be predicted. No model, no plan, no strategy can contain them. That is why no one maps beyond them. That is why the galaxy stops here." One evening, the team observed a human ceremony on a hill overlooking a shimmering lake. It was a celebration of knowledge, community, and achievement. People sang in harmony, shared stories, and exchanged ideas. There was no hierarchy demanding participation. Yet everyone contributed willingly. It was a living proof of human ingenuity and cooperation. Chiron leaned toward Vela. "It's almost spiritual. They do not need laws or force to guide them. They guide themselves. And it works." "How do they do it?" Vela's eyes glimmered with awe. "They trust in life, in each other, and in their creativity. That is something no civilization in the galaxy has ever done. And that is why the legends exist. Humans are not to be controlled, not because they fight, but because they can't be controlled." As the days passed, the team attempted to make contact. They sent silent probes and signals, but the humans seemed unaware, or perhaps intentionally indifferent. It was as if humans could sense the Lumina's presence without acknowledging it, maintaining harmony in their own lives without disruption. Rila grew frustrated. "We have studied everything, observed every action, yet they do not respond. Are they hiding from us?" Vela shook her head. "No. They are not hiding. They are living. They exist on their own terms. Our instruments cannot capture the essence of how they live because it is not something that can be measured. That is the lesson." One day, a human child wandered close to a probe that had been sent to gather environmental data. The child laughed, touching the machine lightly. The sensors suddenly stabilized, and the probe adjusted itself to the child's presence. It was as if the child's curiosity and innocence had guided the machine. Chiron blinked in disbelief. It responded to a human thought? Vela nodded. It adapts. Everything here adapts. Not because they programmed it, but because life itself teaches adaptation. That is something no alien civilization has mastered. The team realized that humans were more than creative, they were a force of nature. Their ingenuity, empathy, and understanding of life allowed them to shape technology, society, and environment in ways that alien civilizations could not predict or replicate. As they observed, Vela began recording detailed notes. She documented not only technology and cities, but the philosophy of life that humans seemed to embody. They valued knowledge, curiosity, cooperation, and creativity over domination. They solved problems by thinking beyond limits, and they embraced mistakes as part of the learning process. Ryla finally spoke, her voice tinged with respect. I understand now. This is why the galaxy avoids them. They are not a threat in the usual sense. They are uncontainable. Their potential cannot be measured or controlled. They are humanity. Vela smiled. Exactly. They are not a threat because they do not seek to destroy. They are a challenge to everything we know. And that is why we must study them, not fight them. Humans are the proof that life can achieve more than any civilization has dared to imagine. As the Lumina continued its silent observations, the team noticed a subtle but remarkable phenomenon. Human societies were connected, not just through technology, but through culture, values, and understanding. Ideas traveled freely. Creativity spread naturally. Problems were solved collectively, yet without coercion. One of the researchers, a quiet philosopher named Selin, observed a discussion among humans about improving energy efficiency in a city. They argued, experimented, and tested solutions not because anyone demanded it, but because they cared. And in the end, they achieved results that far exceeded what any alien technology could predict. They are extraordinary, Selin said softly. It's not their machines, it's not even their knowledge. It's their way of thinking, their minds, their hearts, their curiosity. That is what makes them powerful, Vela nodded. And that is why the maps end here. The galaxy stops at humanity because the universe itself recognizes that some life cannot be contained. Some life cannot be fully understood. And humans are the pinnacle of that unpredictability. The team returned to the Lumina's observation deck each night, watching the humans without interfering. They marveled at human ingenuity, empathy, and creativity. Even when humans made mistakes, they learned and adapted faster than any alien civilization could. Each day brought new surprises, new innovations, new lessons. Chiron finally said, "We cannot fully explain what we've seen. If we return and tell our people, they will doubt us. But maybe that is the point. Humans are not meant to be understood completely. They are meant to inspire." Vela felt a deep sense of responsibility. We must learn what we can and respect what we cannot. Humans are not here for conquest, and they are not here to fight. They are here to show what life can achieve when it is free, curious, and united. That is the lesson of human territory. As the days passed, the Lumina's sensors recorded more data than any alien civilization had ever gathered. But despite all the measurements and observations, the true nature of humanity remained elusive. Humans were not machines to be catalogued. They were not creatures to be controlled. They were something far greater. Living proof that life could transcend limits, achieve balance, and inspire hope. And so, as the twin suns set once more over the human cities, Vela and her team realized the truth of the legends. Humans were not to be feared. They were to be admired. They were the uncharted frontier, the wild card of the galaxy, and the living embodiment of possibility. Vela turned to her team and said quietly, "We cannot fully measure them. We cannot predict them, but we can learn from them. That is the gift they offer, lessons for the entire galaxy, lessons about creativity, courage, and the potential of life itself." The Lumina hovered silently above the human cities, observing a world that thrived on ingenuity, empathy, and imagination. Vela knew that when they returned to their own civilizations, their reports would be met with skepticism, curiosity, and perhaps fear. But she also knew this: humanity was changing the way they would think about life, about possibility, and about the universe. And somewhere below, humans laughed, learned, and created, entirely unaware of the alien observers. Yet their actions spoke louder than any warning, any map, or any legend. Life could flourish in ways the galaxy had never imagined. Humans were living proof that unpredictability, creativity, and empathy were the true strengths of a species. Vela smiled, watching the humans go about their lives. "We came seeking answers," she whispered. "And we found something greater. We found hope. We found inspiration. We found humanity." The journey back to the Alari Collective was quiet. The Lumina glided through familiar star systems, yet the team aboard felt a strange weight in their minds. They had seen something extraordinary, something that would challenge everything they had learned about life, civilization, and potential. Humans had changed them not through force, but through example. Vela sat at the observation deck, staring at the stars. The patterns of the galaxy stretched endlessly before them. But now, every system, every planet, seemed smaller, less significant. They had glimpsed a species that thrived not through domination, conquest, or sheer strength, but through creativity, collaboration, and resilience. Chiron broke the silence. "Do you think anyone will believe us? When we tell the story of what humans can do, they will laugh. They will dismiss it as exaggeration or fantasy." Vela nodded slowly. "Perhaps. But belief is not the goal. Understanding is. And if even a few listen, if even a few begin to see what is possible, that is enough." The team began preparing their report, compiling observations, data, and detailed recordings. Every note highlighted human ingenuity, the way they solved complex problems without violence, and the way they lived in harmony with their environment. But no chart or measurement could fully capture the essence of humanity. Humans were unpredictable. They were a force of life that could not be reduced to numbers or equations. As the Lumina approached their home systems, the team reflected on their time observing human worlds. They had seen cities that adapted naturally to the land, energy systems that functioned without waste, and communities that worked together without coercion. They had observed children learning through curiosity, adults collaborating freely, and entire societies thriving in ways that defied prediction. "It's more than technology," Selin, the philosopher, said. "It's their mindset. Humans approach life with a balance of creativity and care, curiosity and empathy. That is what makes them limitless." Vela agreed. "They are the uncharted frontier of life. Other species may chart stars, conquer planets, and dominate space. But humans are something entirely different. They are the possibility that life itself can reach its fullest potential." Upon returning to their homeworld, the team was met with skepticism. Their colleagues had expected the usual reports of star systems, resources, and political structures. Instead, the team presented something different: evidence of human creativity, collaboration, and adaptability. "Humans are extraordinary," Vela said during the presentation. "Not because they fight, not because they conquer, but because they live in ways we cannot predict or control. They solve problems we would never imagine. They thrive without domination. They inspire." Some of the assembly listened with awe. Others were doubtful. But slowly, a realization spread. The galaxy had always feared the unknown. Humans were not a threat in the conventional sense. They were a challenge, a reminder of what life could be when it embraced possibility rather than limitation. Chiron added, "Our instruments could not measure them fully. Their energy, their societies, their creativity, these cannot be contained in charts or formulas. Humans are the standard of potential. The message spread through the galaxy, quietly at first. Stories of human territory reached civilizations that had never dared to explore beyond mapped borders. Legends were confirmed. Humans were unpredictable. Not because they were dangerous, but because they represented life at its fullest. Back in human territory, life continued undisturbed. Humans lived as they always had, curious, creative, and cooperative. They were unaware of the attention they drew from the stars, yet their existence shaped the galaxy in subtle but profound ways. Their cities continued to grow in harmony with nature. Their technologies evolved through experimentation and collaboration, and their culture thrived on learning and curiosity. The Lumina's team returned often, not as invaders or conquerors, but as students and observers. They brought back lessons from human life, gradually changing the perspective of their civilizations. Slowly, other species began to emulate aspects of human society collaboration, without coercion, learning through creativity, and problem-solving guided by curiosity rather than fear. Vela often reflected on the first time she had seen humans up close. The memory of children laughing in open fields, scientists experimenting with boundless curiosity, and communities thriving in harmony with their environment remained vivid. Humans were not perfect, but their imperfections were part of what made them extraordinary. They adapted, learned, and grew. One evening, Vela stood on a balcony overlooking the Lumina's observation deck, watching human cities below. The lights glimmered like stars, reflecting the energy and life of the people within. She realized that humans were not merely surviving, they were flourishing. They had found a way to turn creativity, empathy, and curiosity into a strength that no weapon, no machine, and no force could replicate. Selen joined her. "Do you think they know how remarkable they are?" Vela smiled. "Perhaps not fully. But that is the beauty of it. Humans do not need to know. They act because they are curious, because they care, because they are alive. Their impact on the galaxy is real, even if they never understand it themselves." Chiron added, "We came seeking answers, but what we found is far greater. Humans are not just a civilization, they are a standard, a reminder of what life can achieve when it is free, creative, and compassionate." The team realized that the human lesson was simple but profound. Life's true strength is not in domination or control, but in adaptability, curiosity, and cooperation. Humanity had shown that a species could thrive without fear, without conquest, and without aggression. They could shape their environment, their technology, and their societies in ways that enhanced life itself. As the Lumina's sensors recorded the human world one last time before returning to deep space, Vela felt a sense of awe unlike anything she had ever experienced. Humans were living proof that possibility could exceed expectation, that life could achieve balance, creativity, and resilience. They were the uncharted frontier, not because they were violent or dangerous, but because they were limitless. The team knew that when they returned to their own civilizations, their stories would face disbelief. Some would dismiss the lessons, some would fear them, and some would be inspired. But the knowledge they carried could not be taken back by force, erased by skepticism, or contained by tradition. Humans had left an impression on the galaxy simply by being themselves, and humans continued their lives unaware of the galactic attention. Children played, adults learned, and communities thrived. Their cities glimmered with light, blending naturally with the landscape. Their machines responded to creativity. Their energy systems flowed without waste, and their culture valued exploration, learning, and cooperation above all else. Vela watched a young human child approach a small experimental device. The device adjusted and adapted to the child's curiosity, performing in ways that no alien engineering could predict. The simplicity of the scene held immense meaning. Humans did not need domination or control. They shaped the world through ingenuity, empathy, and imagination. Chiron whispered, "They are teaching us, even without knowing it. They show what is possible." Vela nodded. "Yes, they are a reminder. Life does not need to conquer to matter. Humans matter because of what they can create, how they adapt, and the choices they make. That is the human standard. In the following months, the Lumina's team continued to observe, record, and learn. Their reports slowly influenced other civilizations, spreading awareness that there was more to strength than power, more to life than dominance. Humanity's example began to inspire a quiet revolution across the galaxy, a recognition that curiosity, cooperation, and creativity were true measures of potential. And somewhere in the midst of their lives, humans laughed, learned, and explored. They continued to solve problems with unexpected solutions, thrive in harmony with nature, and grow in ways no one could fully predict. They were not aware of the attention, nor did they seek it. Yet, their very existence reshaped the thinking of countless civilizations, not through fear or force, but through living example. Vela finally understood the truth of the legend. The galactic maps stopped at human territory, not because humans were dangerous, but because they were impossible to predict, impossible to contain, and impossible to ignore. The humans were the proof that life could achieve more than any map, any calculation, or any expectation could show. And as the twin suns set on human cities, casting long shadows across thriving landscapes, the galaxy watched in quiet respect. Humans were not conquerors. They were creators. They were innovators. They were the standard of what life could be, when curiosity, empathy, and imagination guided every step. Vela turned to her team one last time. We have seen what the universe can achieve when it allows life to flourish. Humans are not just a species. They are the edge of possibility. And that is why the galaxy respects them, why no one dares to question their place, and why the maps end here. The Lumina left orbit, heading back toward the wider galaxy. Behind them, human cities sparkled with life, innovation, and creativity. No map could chart the full measure of humanity, and perhaps that was the point. Humans were not to be measured or contained. They were to be witnessed, understood, and inspired by. And in that quiet, unassuming way that humans had always mastered, they continued to live, learn, and grow, showing the galaxy the true meaning of possibility.